Hey, good afternoon. Lyndall here with Marshfield Old School Times. I know it's been a little while. I'm a little rusty, so you bear with me, but I've got the right guest to have with me today. We've got Sheriff Roye Cole. Welcome, brother.
Good morning.
You
How are
betcha.
you?
Thank you for coming in. I wanted to have Roy come in because he's had some really busy times recently. There's been a lot going on with the Sheriff's Department and really the state and the world in general. And so Roy's always got a great perspective that I appreciate and respect, and so it's good to have him come by today, and we're gonna visit a little bit. We want to thank our theme song, Dennis Beck. Dennis, thanks again. We take you for granted because it's a perfect song to introduce our show, and we've been doing it for, golly, going on 3 years now. I'm excited this summer to have the class of '76 come in for Union Fest. My good friend Roger Replogle, Steve Aarons, a bunch of those that were 1 year ahead of me in school, and they're putting together a great reunion, and we're going to look forward to seeing those people this summer on July the 3rd. That's the night before the 4th, and so it's going to be a big weekend. 250th birthday of our nation.
Which explains the beards for
That's
everyone
exactly
that
right,
doesn't know.
and of course I will have the worst beard, honestly, the worst beard in the county, and I'm proud of that because I would never have the best, so you might as well be the worst, right? And so, it's going to be a fun summer. The Route 66 Centennial Celebration, which is kicking off this month. We'll talk more about that as well down the road. But today we're going to talk about Sheriff Cole, and this is going to be a Roy soup. You know what Roy soup is?
Sounds terrible.
That's where you just sit back and you let Roy talk about whatever he wants to. We may feed him a question or two, but Roy, I guess we're going to start out, and you've been on the show once or twice. I don't remember, but
Once.
at least one. Okay, so you're now officially a two-timer, but just to kind of catch everybody up, talk just a little bit about your family, how the kids doing.
Oh, they're
And
doing good.
Everybody knows your family, your folks, and your dad's the mayor of Rogersville, and so kind of catch us up when we start out the show today.
Oh gosh. Well, I'll start with the kids.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
three of those, and the boys both have birthdays this month. So Caleb will turn 21. Jack will turn 18.
Hard to
And
believe.
then
Hard to
Charlotte
believe.
just had a birthday, and so
Yeah.
she's 12 now. So, that keeps your plate full. Caleb's up.
Yeah.
He's going to school as junior at MSU and doing his construction management degree, and he's working for Q and Company. They do construction management, and so he's doing real well. And Jack just finished his senior year of football, and he's working right now down at Schrable Feed, which I don't know if you know this or not. They're kind of distant cousins.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah, down on 60.
yeah. So and Charlotte's playing volleyball.
Yeah.
So that's what she's got going.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dad's served down there for as
Long
long as
time.
I can remember. Yeah, and it's a funny story how I got into it too. None of us were ever in politics, but the best I remember of the story is told. And of course, I was probably a senior in high school, something along those lines. And I wish somebody was here that could remember the story accurately, because I can only remember how it was told. But there was a fist fight in City Hall between, I think it was either the mayor or city administrator or somebody of influence. And I later heard Judge Canoose tell me how he shut the town down. Well, I didn't know Judge.
I can't imagine Judge
I
Canoose
didn't
would
know.
do something like
Well,
that.
if you know Judge Canoose, he wasn't afraid to do
He's
something
capable.
like that.
He's capable.
So, Dad was a preacher there at the Church of Christ there in Rogersville, kind of part time, and worked at Cox for. I think he got 50 years.
Yeah, I was going to
before
say
he retired.
he put in the.
And I think he kind of got suckered in. I was telling the story yesterday. They're like, hey, look, we need somebody to do this. Will you please, be an alderman or whatever?
Yeah.
And our next door neighbor lady, they tricked her into being the mayor, and he was an alderman. And then once he served a little time, he kind of figured out how to do it. And then he agreed to serve one term, because he didn't want to get in the way of everything else. But by the end of that, he was running for mayor, and I think he's done it nonstop, except for he took one term off, and then felt like he needed to get back in it. And so
30 years.
He's still stuck. He's still stuck doing that.
Yeah.
So.
Well, he's
But
great.
I think he enjoys it a
Great
little
guy,
more now that
yeah.
he's retired.
Yeah, great. He's a great guy, and your kids are wonderful, wonderful children. They've just all done well, and you've been a great dad.
They're pretty
and
good
it shows,
kids when they
shows
listen.
shows in how they turned out. And
they're-
you got a new
they're good.
house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we've been, last year was a real tough one for me.
Right,
Because
right.
lost the house in a fire, and so I've made pretty good fun of myself that, 45 and divorced and living in my mom's basement. That's just quite the resume, you know. And so that was a real tough year and a lot of stress. And,
Right.
you know, being my son's senior year, trying to never built a house before. I joked I built a justice center, but I'd never built a house.
Yeah.
And I helped people do things, building houses, but was never in charge of it. And,
Yeah.
and you know, there's people out there. This community is so good. I can't even begin to tell you. But you know, the Jimmy Janettis of the world, and the Jeff Youngs, and the Chris Sturdivants, and just these people that just show up and help you.
Come together.
And, yeah. I mean, I have a list of people that you know helped me through that storm. And And I think Jimmy showed up, and you know, I tried to cut him a check, and he wouldn't take it. You know, he just volunteered and just helped me through.
That is awesome. Boy,
kind of a Renaissance man.
Yeah.
So, you know, you work all day, and then you go home in the afternoon and evening and try to build a house, and then you got kids to take care of, and you're trying to do football season, and
then you get a call in the middle of the night.
And you're just all the time. There's never a time where I'm not working.
Right.
I mean, there is never a time
Right.
where I'm not helping somebody do something, solve. And what you have to understand about this business is whoever you're talking to at the time, that is their most pressing matter. And you have 50 of those going at once, but to them, that's the only thing that matters. And you have to be able to respond accordingly. And so, you know, it's a lot of pressure from a lot of different directions to try to do the job and make people know how serious you take it, even though sometimes you've seen the same thing over and over and over and over, and you can predict the end of it before. You know, that's another interesting part about the job. You know how things work, and due process is so important, but watching the process is the most painful thing, because the fear and the anxiety of going through the court process and how is this all going to turn out, you know, most people don't know. And so it's a scary thing. Well, then once you've seen it play out, you kind of have a pretty good idea what's going to happen. And it's just hard to manage all those expectations and try to help people with their fears and stuff. It's a challenging task.
You know, and we take you guys for granted. We really do. You guys, the EMTs, the paramedics, the firefighters, the police. I mean, all of you that are in that business of really saving and preserving and just helping people in their lives. You know, we might be out here building something, or if you work in a factory and you're putting together widgets, and you may worry and stress about making sure you get this widget put together right or get this window trimmed properly. But you, like you just said, you have to think about the repercussions of what if I screw this case up and this guy doesn't go to prison like he should, or this person doesn't get, the victim doesn't get, you know, what they should in the form of, you know, restitution or whatever. And I can't imagine the pressure that puts on somebody in their job.
Sure. Yeah.
We came into the courthouse together, believe it or not, 18 years ago this year. We were both running. You were running for sheriff. I was running for county commissioner. 18 years ago. That means that you're
I think we completed 18 years, I think.
Yeah, your oldest son. Well, I think you went in 09, right? January
1 of 09.
Yeah, and this is 06, so January of 27 will be 18 completed. You'll 18 years. But the bottom line is your oldest son would have been 3 years old.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
And so, and as I mentioned on the
Jack was born the year of the election.
Yeah, the second oldest.
Yeah, and Charlotte was born the year we passed the tax on the jail.
Yeah. But you know, as I mentioned, you and Uncle Gene, Sheriff Fraker, but between the two of you have served as sheriff in this county 38 out of the last 58 years. It's kind of remarkable.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure he's the longest serving sheriff, and you're number 2 at this point.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's a remarkable record, and it's remarkable that anyone can last that long in that kind of a position. Now, you might hold a position in the county or the city or even an office for that long, but to be the sheriff with the stress that position holds, it's pretty remarkable, and it takes a remarkable guy to do that.
Yeah, that's very nice of you to say. It'll about kill you some days.
Well, I'm sure it will. And how old are you now?
I'm 45.
45 years old. You're just a kid.
I feel like an old man.
You
sitting
got
on
25
his porch
more working
yelling
years.
at the kids playing in the yard.
Yeah. Well,
I was the youngest twice. I told you that story.
yeah.
I was the youngest when I got elected. And then
Yeah.
a guy came in that was younger than me, and then he got kicked out of office, and so I got to be the youngest again.
Oh, yeah.
I used to take pride in being the youngest, and I look around now, and you go up to your association meetings, and there's 114 of us in the state, and you just almost wait to meet people until they've been there long, because it's like the turnover is so high.
Right.
You're kind of a one-termer or a lifer. It just seems to be how it kind of works, and you're like, well, let's see if they're going to be here for that second term, because you only get so many chances to visit with people up there, and so you're so excited to see the ones you know.
You've built quite a network of friends up there. I know some of the sheriffs, and I got acquainted with a lot of them when I was with the Department of Health, and you got some great guys that you were able to serve with or are able to serve with still.
Blessed,
and some right here around close. And so, speaking of that, of course, the one thing that really has probably weighed on you more than anything in the last few months is the incident that happened in Stone County. You want to talk about that a little bit?
There's there may be some things that probably need to be said, and it just depends on which view you're coming from. But I the first thing I'd point out is just my staff. Everybody knows Austin McCall at this point, and the boys that went down there. We to tell the whole story I would probably want to just summarize it. But, people like McCall, but it's not just McCall. It's the whole group. They operate on a certain principle, which is, this is something we got to stop. And at the time he was shot, he just told me, he said, Sheriff, I just couldn't let him do that.
Yeah.
And so he just went into a dark and scary place that'll have lifetime consequences.
Yeah.
And you can't help but honor that. And that's, you didn't really see me talking a whole lot about stuff like that to me. It's pretty sensitive. And so
that's why I asked you if you wanted to,
Yeah. So, I'll keep it in general like that, but I just have really, really, really good people. And it's a pleasure and it's an honor to serve with those guys. And guys and girls that work for us, they're just amazing. And but we went out there because we were called to investigate a death of an officer, and we didn't have all the details. You don't get the details on the way. It wasn't even until I got there.
So how much time had passed since the initial whatever occurred until you guys got called? It wasn't very long, was it?
Probably. If I were to guess, 20 minutes.
Yeah, I was going to say less than an hour.
Sure.
Yeah, okay.
Don't know. Never was told that. But we go in the Sheriff's Critical Incident Team, Sheriff Arnott, and I think it was DeLay. We started that over a decade ago, and that's turned out to be a pretty good.
So if something like that, serious, critical happens, then there's a chain of a group of sheriffs in the area that are called.
Is all it is. It's just
Greene County, you.
Yeah. And so it's different agencies all looking at the same problem, from different points of view and with different resources.
Yeah.
But it's nice how well, everybody works together that way.
So did the initial incident occur in Stone? All of it occurred in Stone, or it was in Christian?
No, the original was in Christian.
That's what I thought.
And then the suspect was from Stone.
Went to Stone.
Yeah. So I don't want to talk about that too much, but it was just one of those deals that everybody was trying to do the right thing in a very, very extended period of chaos, and we were trying to bring order to that chaos. It was tragic.
I guess that would be one of the worst tragedies from a law enforcement perspective in the history of our state, wouldn't it?
Well,
one of them, I say.
You can't lose a life without it being tragic.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, but we're losing two, Yeah. Then you've also been involved in this in state legislation, the Missouri Sheriff's Association, and specifically as the legislative liaison, or whatever the word you want to use. Someone that's been very, very instrumental in helping the sheriffs get legislation across the finish line with the legislators. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, that's probably the topic of the day, is truth in sentencing, which is something I definitely want to spend some time talking about. But, way back in 2017, as president of the Sheriff's Association, and somewhere, how it is for people at home that don't know, you're part of an association, and then if you join the leadership, each county office has their own association. So you know,
clerks and the commissioners.
They all have their
sheriffs,
statewide associations,
Right.
which is helpful to cover the law and make sure everything across the state is communicated.
It's helpful to get laws changed too.
And networking and just
yeah.
comparing notes. But, you know, I ran to be on the leadership team of that, and you ascend up. So the fellow sheriffs voted me in, and you know, you're like secretary, treasurer, and whatever. And they're like third vice president, second vice president. You work your way up to
kind of move
president,
up.
just 1 year terms. And so it takes 6 or 8 years to go through. And one of those times, you know, I'd serve as legislative chair, and that would go pretty well. So I would continue doing that. And so I don't want to say, I don't even know who honestly, I don't even know who our legislative chair is now. I've just networked enough that I generally know where to go to deal with that particular topic. And so that same time's kind of when I was able to articulate this truth in sentencing issue. And at the time, if you remember, back when you were serving up there, the phrase was justice reinvestment, you know, and they sold that kind of a bill of goods to us, like we're going to be really hard on the really bad criminals. And that, you know, it's kind of came across as a tough on crime thing, but that 558019 statute, it wasn't. It had too many loopholes, and it had too many play on words that people didn't understand. And I don't think anybody, none of us,
did it put
could
too much
possibly know what some of those words meant.
Yeah, did it give too much authority to the parole board?
Not even the board itself, but to DOC.
Okay.
You have DOC and you have the parole board.
Yeah.
By the time they get to the parole board, the requirements have already been met. You know, parole board, and you know, Fitzwater, you're friends with him, he would tell you almost everybody goes to the P&P board the first time gets rejected. You know, they have to go back, but the perception is that it doesn't feel that way because it got out so quick.
Yeah. Well, just for the sake of the viewers that don't really understand truth in sentencing, just briefly explain what truth in sentencing actually is.
So that is a term that I didn't even know was a nationwide term when I started throwing it around. And each state defines it differently. And so we'll talk about how Missouri is defining it right now. But generally speaking, it's kind of like the federal system. The goal is, you know, in the federal system, if somebody is served to 100% of a punishment, or say they get 10 years, they automatically do 85%, or some percentage automatically associated with that, and that's just exactly what happens, and then they can be on parole. We always called that truth in sentencing.
Yeah.
That's exactly what happened. Well, you know, this is kind of a long story, and I don't know if your viewers will appreciate all the details or not, so I'll just try to highlight some things. But, you know, I got appointed to this committee with the Missouri Supreme Court, the task force. And the task force is made up of multiple committees, and now Brent Powell, Judge Powell, he's the Chief Justice now. He's actually from Royersville, which I didn't know that till I met him up there.
Didn't he used to hang out at Turner's?
Probably, because he lived off D Highway, but I never knew him as a kid. I never met him
Drink
before.
coffee with the old timers out there.
Probably Billy Bills.
I've seen him in there before.
Yeah, but I didn't. He's a William Jewell guy, but. Anyway, he came into the story later because Patty Breckenridge was the judge at the time. But anyway, she asked me to lead this committee, and man, it's a real honor because those are the greatest legal minds in the state on this task force. There's one police officer on there, this guy.
Yeah.
And so you're sitting in there with a room full of people, you know, 40, there may be 40, 60 people. I don't know how many people are on there. The room at the basement of Osco is filled. That's what I can tell you.
Yeah.
And so I just kept barking about truth in sentencing, how nobody is serving any time. And the DOC director is on there, and the DOC statistician is on there. And so we start running these numbers, and it's like, man, they're serving real small percentages, like 10 or 15, you know, some of them 30. And you're just like, how is this possible? Because you read that statute, and it's like, well, you know, they did a play on words, which was conviction versus commitment. And so a guy could have 10 commitments or 10 convictions, and they mean nothing. Commitments are the only thing that count. Mm-hmm. And, you know, the 120s and all that, they didn't count. Those weren't considered commitments. They were considered treatment.
Really?
And so you'd have people up there that have been arrested, put on probation, done all these things, done jail time, done whatever, been done 120s. And then you get up there, they finally, you know how many trials and cases have to happen for all this? So you have all these cases, And then they finally get up to DOC, and they're like, well, this is your first time here. There's no minimum sentence for you. And so it was like their second commitment to prison is what started the percentages. And so it was just darn near impossible to...
So let me get this straight, because we're all laymen, and you, just to make sure we're straight on this, because I think this is important. So the prosecutor, the law enforcement agent does his job. He arrests someone, everything's done properly. The prosecutor takes the case. Maybe he does his job in this case and gets the maximum amount he can get by law. Mm-hmm. The judge rules. The judge does his job. Mm-hmm. And he sentences him to so many years and so forth. But what you're telling me, they go to DOC, and then the DOC is where, for some reason, for whatever, the law was loose enough that they could let him out at 10 or 15% of the time,
or less if they wanted
that
to.
The judge ruled that he would serve.
Normally, they would have enough jail days credit. And Trevor Foley was just a tremendous resource in all this. He's the director of DOC now, and he was very open about DOC and their policies, because his policies are set by law.
Yeah.
So it's not like he's the guy that made all this up.
Right,
you know,
right. He's following the law.
He's communicating. And he went everywhere taking chew-ins from both left and right and special interests and everything else, trying to help me.
Well, and the general public out here, it wasn't
until their second commitment that things started to count. Now there are a few exceptions. You have what we call the 85%ers, the real bad crimes.
Yeah.
And you had certain first-degree crimes that they had to skip that.
Would that be like a bad assault?
But that's not how deals work. Yeah. So like a first-degree assault versus this is very important.
Yeah, go ahead.
My son wants me to get some Alani's on the way home.
Okay, I thought, wait a minute, we're gonna take a break here. We'll take a station break.
No, just a dad call.
All right,
the boy needs some Alani before he gets home.
So actually, in many cases,
here's my issue though. There's no local control there. Right. So no matter, you have all the locals doing all the work, and they don't have a hand in the end result. Mm-hmm. So it takes away your voice. It takes away my voice. It takes everybody's voice.
So truth in sentencing does just that. It's going to put some truth in what the sentence was actually issued by the local judges and prosecutors and law enforcement.
Yeah, and I want to make this really clear, and then I want to come back to where we're going.
Yeah.
We didn't get everything we want in this bill.
Right.
This isn't making bigger, longer sentences. That's, we think that's necessary sometimes. But what we did here was make sure that of the day of the courtroom, the minimum amount that will be served.
Yeah.
I believe when it's actually going to cause a bunch of outrage. I think people are going to get in there and see the minimum and demand that the state change the range of punishment. And that's what my prediction is. As soon as people start seeing what the sentences actually are, they will demand longer sentences in certain cases.
Right.
And then we made it where it's possible to do that now. So before, you couldn't, because you just didn't understand the process. Now people can understand the process.
But I think we should also mention to people, because, again...
It started out truth in sentencing. What it really turned into was transparency in sentencing.
But
that was the biggest fight and the hardest fight to win.
Yeah. But, you mentioned you've been trying to get through for years, ever since you've been involved in the legislative end of the Sheriff's Association. You've been trying to get something done. It's taken 10 years?
It's taken
and
10
so
years.
Why is that? And who's kept that from happening?
See, that's a good question.
There has to be, and it's always about money. It's always about money.
Right.
There's some element of people or groups out there with money that kept it from happening, through a senator or through a group of senators or through some. The representatives can't quite do it, but senators can. But I mean, there's a big pushback. So that is the thing that people don't understand when it comes to legislation. It's easy to say, well, let's just get Representative Black and Senator Trent and these people to fix that. Well, it's not that easy.
Who were phenomenal, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. And
Quiet John Black and Curtis Trent just absolutely carried the water for this and made it happen. And all the other local ones were just fantastic too.
Sure.
And I wrote some of them down.
Go ahead.
John Black and Benny Cook, Barry Hovis and Curtis Trent and Darren Chappell. I mean, there was a lot more too, but it was really ultimately Governor Kehoe's leadership that said this is a priority for us.
Right.
And the real guy that carried the water was Trevor Foley. And I'll tell you that story.
And he's the director.
There's so many stories.
Is that what you said?
Yes, he's the DOC director. He
Okay.
took Ann Precythe's place.
Okay.
And I remember telling Ann Precythe one day, they were really pushing to get people out of prison. And I'm like, why are you pushing
They
this?
were when I was up there.
I don't ever believe in mass this or that.
Right.
The law should be case by case.
Right.
Sentences should be case by case. And they went from 33,000 people in prison down to something like 20-something. 22,000, 23,000 people in prison. People talking about overcrowded prisons. They were not overcrowded. We just lost 10 or 12,000 people. And then, people would complain about private prisons. Well, Missouri doesn't have any private prisons. So all these national arguments that shape Missouri politics were kind of irrelevant to Missouri. But yet, you got to remember the times that it was back then. And, you just keep fighting it. You just keep talking about it. You keep having the discussions, and people see the importance of it. And there was an important discussion up at the task force meeting one time where I was just basically saying, man, nobody knows how long anybody's being served, and it's important. And a defense attorney up there, J.R. Hobbs, he spoke up and he said, Sheriff's right. He's like, 2 years in the state of Missouri, nobody knows what it means. And he goes, how can I give my client advice if I don't know what 2 years means? Because it may mean 3 months or 18 months. Now, how am I supposed to tell my client to take a deal or not take a deal? Because we don't know what the sentence actually means. That may mean a divorce. That may mean a career change. That may mean all kinds of other consequences. So how can I tell them to take the deal or not take the deal?
Did defense attorneys have a factor in this?
Everybody, well, you know how everybody has a factor in it. You know as well as I
But
do.
I mean,
in the state of Missouri, it only takes one senator to kill a bill.
Right.
So how do you get all those representatives and all those senators to agree on something and the state to have the money to do it?
Right.
So this is a bill that I would say nobody loves and everybody can live with. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
I promise. If you
it's a good
if
first
you go
step.
through all the
It's
details
a good first step.
and you say, like me, I want a percentage-based everything.
Right.
I want percentage-based sentences.
As you know, we've had some issues locally. We've talked about. I had some folks on the show, and we aren't going to get into those too much. But truth in sentencing, or this particular legislation, should help to tighten up the results of some of those cases, those victim cases.
Yeah.
At least they're going to know when the ruling is made that they're going to have to serve this amount of time or so forth, right?
Yeah, and I don't know which specific case you're talking
Well, I don't
about.
want to get into that with this today.
Yeah,
but,
that's fine.
But
what it does is the way it is now is you find the courts almost have to be creative to try to fix this problem because they know that if you served 100 days in jail and that the minimum is going to be so low. Lyndall, we paid the task force after I've kind of had to skip ahead because we're jumping around.
Yeah, that's fine.
But at one point, the state of Missouri paid $3 million for a sentencing calculator to figure out what the sentence would be. After paying $3 million to write down what should be pretty simple, it still didn't work.
Yeah.
And they forked out that money because they realized there were only 4 people in the state of Missouri that knew the sentence, and those are the 4 people that were in the basement of DOC or the first floor of DOC calculating it by hand, pencil and paper. Wow. And Marshall Clement from the Council of State Governments, we had him come in and he said, just so you know, you're not the only state like this. There's several states with the same problem, but this is where you're at. Yeah. Nobody knows what the sentence will be.
Right.
Well, it makes it very hard.
Yeah.
To give out a good punishment if you don't know what the sentence is going to be.
I think the one thing that I've heard more about along the way in these types of issues is the fact that law enforcement works their tail off to get people arrested. In many cases, risking their life. In some cases, losing their lives. And then sometimes it goes through the court system and the people walk, or they're not serving the jail time that they should. Whether it's the prosecutor, the judges, the DOC, whoever's fault, doesn't matter. It's the bottom line is bad people need to be locked up and put away.
Well, bad people do need to be locked up and put away. And I find that normally those conclusions are evidence-based.
Yeah.
So if you're a prosecutor and you think you've got good evidence, good case, whatever, it makes it easier to argue.
Sure.
And if you're fighting for something that you don't have the evidence, but they're in the right, you're fighting it, but you don't have as much to fight with. And it's just case-by-case basis on how all those things are handled. And like I said, when I started my career, all cops just blamed the prosecutor. That's just what we did. We didn't know any different. We just blamed. Well, then you kind of get to study.
You've
And
learned.
you've had,
Yeah.
you've had different prosecutors, you had different judges, and
Yeah.
at this point in my career, I've had multiple of everything.
Yeah.
And you realize that there is a system failure.
Yeah.
What is the point? If we get all this work and none of us, not even the judge, knows how long somebody's going to be sentenced for, what on earth? It's so disheartening.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's what we're just trying to fix. We're trying to make sure that we bring order to this chaos, and by being able to see what the sentence actually will be, which I'm telling you, it will be low. You're going to look at it and see what it is.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
And here's where things switch. And whether it was Governor Kehoe telling Trevor to come see me, or whether Trevor Foley decided to do it on his own, he came down to my office last year, and he said, "Hey, I want to talk to you about this truth in sentencing thing. I know it's a big deal." And I was like, "Okay, well, your predecessor, who I like as a person, she didn't help me, and but I enjoyed her. She was a great people, and that's what I do like and enjoy about those debates up there in Jeff City. They're not so personal. They're not so. It's just like can discuss philosophy.
Right.
You can, as a conservative Republican, you can go talk to a liberal Democrat and discuss philosophy without the name calling.
They're not like Facebook on Now You Know Marshfield or whatever, right?
I don't do social media.
Well, no, but it's
but
true.
Anyway, Well, it's just.
So
he came down and he said, I know this is a good cause and we need to do this. I said, well, I've got it past the House twice, but I always get whipped in the Senate. And he goes, yeah, I know that's my fault. And Trevor, forgive me if I share this. I shouldn't. But he said, well, because every time you get to the Senate, he goes, I put on a $500 million fiscal note on it and kill it. And I was like, well, thanks for that.
Yeah.
Called him a name. And he goes, no, I want to help. We believe in what you're saying. And so we just started a discussion. He said, here's our problem. We need it to be revenue neutral. I was like, well, you can't raise sentences without costing some money. But I'm giving, since we got 10,000 extra beds sitting there, I think we could probably do it knowing the fixed costs are already paid. And so we just started, and he basically took what I had, and he added something to it that, I didn't like, but it got liberals and Democrats, everybody from all the positions to a compromise, and that's what has to happen.
Yeah.
If you like the law, the law and sausage. If you like the law or you like the sausage, you don't want to know what goes in it.
That's right.
And you hate to see the compromises that are made to get a bill over, because you're just like, man, this was not my original intent. But the main purpose of that transparency in the courtroom, and for a victim to be able to know, hey, this bad guy's not getting out until this specific date, that's empowering. Mm-hmm. And you can be mad about that date, but at least now you know what that date is, and now you can be mad and argue about it and say how you feel. Mm-hmm. Well, before, you just had months of waiting, not knowing, and then just one day they're there. Yeah. I mean, you get notified, but but still, it's like you had no idea when it's going to happen. Right. Now you do. And I anticipate that in a couple of years, everybody's going to look at those minimums and be like, "Oh, well, it was pretty low. Maybe we need to raise that." And
right.
I think the state's going to be like, "Oh, yeah, we got to raise that."
And if the people speak loud enough, then their representatives will hear them.
Yeah.
And then that can carry on up the line.
Yeah.
You mentioned something there about like transparency, and think about when you and I came in together 18 years ago. I don't know that Facebook was even there. It was by the time I ran for rep 2 years later, because my wife had to set up a Facebook account for me because I knew nothing about it. Think about how far we've came and where we've went with social media in the time that you've been sheriff and that I was serving, and where we are today, and how I want to say the word innocent. We were so innocent with so much of our communication. I mean, we had people like Ronald Reagan or the Bushes, or even Bill Clinton could speak could make people feel good, or Obama or whatever, and they could say things that meant something. People really, did you hear what the president said? I mean, that were uplifting and positive. Mm-hmm. Today, with AI and with all the crap out there, it's like nobody even knows what to believe anymore. It's like, well, that's just AI. Well, that's just people just make stuff up, from the president on down. Mm-hmm. And it's really, it troubles me.
It's I think
very
it's something
scary
to be troubled by.
And
It
what are
is scary.
we teaching our children? And I look at my boys who are 20 and 26 now, but I can't imagine the young children and how in the world will they even know what the truth is, and how
I don't know.
is the truth even important anymore?
I don't know. Well, of course,
because everything's about money. Well, certainly it is, but I mean, how do we make sure they still understand that it is?
Well, entertainment has taken over everything, and a child's attention span now is like 12 seconds.
Yeah,
I mean, people don't. I can't think of anything scarier.
I can't either.
I really can't, and I don't know what the answer to it is yet. I hope one day there's some type of legislation that will rein in some of the outrageous stuff. But
there has to be. You can't spread lies. You can't yell fire in a movie theater.
AI
you
some image or whatever.
Yeah, you can't.
I don't have
You
the
can't
answer.
just tell lies all the time. I mean, yeah, free speech is free speech, but there's a difference.
Mm-hmm.
You can't slander and just blasphemize everything out there in the name of thinking it's truthful.
Yeah.
It's not right.
No.
And as the chief law enforcement officer of the county, how in the world do you deal with that? I don't.
It's a painful struggle.
I think that's.
And so, like for me, like I've just learned it's best. I need to focus on the job. I don't do the social media thing. The people and the staff run it for me. And
well, that's good, but you got to know what's going on.
Well,
you got to know what your enemies are up to, and you got to know what's. I mean, but I understand that. John Black's the same way. Our state representative, he didn't have a Facebook account, and I understand why, because you guys can keep your sanity much better as long as you've got people letting you know what's going on. But it's. I don't know. I don't know where we're headed with all that, but it's not good right now.
Yeah.
And hey, I talked about you guys, you and Uncle Gene being such great sheriffs because you were good, honest men, and you were humble. Well, I'm gonna do a little bit of bragging
call me good
on myself. I'm gonna do a little bragging on myself. I got 2 plaques hanging on my wall that I'm most proud of. This is the one that Sheriff Cole gave me when the new jail was built. A little piece of the jail, and of course I was county commissioner.
Jail.
Yeah, the old jail.
The old,
the old jail. Oh, that's right. Yeah, the 1939 jail. But
those bars came from the jail before that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I see what you mean. The old.
So that was put into the
courthouse
courthouse in '38. But they had taken those from the previous jail and put them in.
I don't think that was on
here.
here.
Then new courthouse.
You know what? That wasn't on here. I don't think I knew that. So thank you. I'm glad I brought it up.
Well, I'm the same one that gave everybody what was it, precipitation awards one time.
Precipitation.
Yeah, I did that.
But as county commissioner, I certainly was involved in purchasing some property to get the new jail. The new jail is, it's really a crown jewel. Besides the old courthouse building, which is certainly a crown jewel, but it's a great added facility to our community and our county. Really? You're doing a wonderful job with it. I think there was big concern when you first built it. How are we going to pay for it? Is it going to fund itself? But tell us how that's going.
Well, it's going really well. And as much as I'd love to pull some more money from Stan Whitehurst.
All politicians want money.
I would like to, pay my guys more and have some more of them. He's to credit for the financial security that, the county is a very,
chief budget officer of the county too.
We're a very poor county, but yet well managed.
Right.
And so, we're always going to be all right.
Yeah.
We just want to do better.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's because of Stan's leadership.
Yeah.
And the jail, we had to sit and crunch the numbers, but ultimately the people voted and said, yeah, let's do this. And so we're doing what they wanted. We do have open bed revenue from the U.S. Marshals and stuff like that we reopened. We just got them here, and then the government shutdown happened, and then they consolidated, and we're bringing some more back. So maybe we can make a little bit of revenue on that, but we'll see how all that works.
But it's working pretty well, the new facility.
It's wonderful. It just changes everything.
Yeah. Is the state reimbursing you enough money yet?
Enough money? No, they don't. They're not. They're not reimbursing us what it cost us.
Let the people know about that.
Oh,
it's just facts.
I'll have to throw out some old numbers, but I don't even.
Cost you $58, and you're getting.
Lyndall, I don't even know where to look on your camera here.
Well, just look at the picture there. But I mean, I think the last year I served, we were, it was costing 50-some bucks and we were getting 30. That's just rounding it off or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I remember it was $45 a day on average.
Yeah.
You took the total cost and divided them by the total inmates per day, and that's pretty much how you came to that number.
But the state was only
it was pretty much 45, you know.
Yeah.
And but they were reimbursing like 18 or 19, and you had to wait a long time to get that back.
Right,
and they've upped it. I know the governor's tried to up it and make it a priority.
Governor Parson, I think.
But we're paying the cost.
Yeah.
So we deserve to be reimbursed for it.
Right.
And so that's always a fight up there in Jeff City.
But those are kind of hidden things that the general public doesn't always know about that really impacts the county budget. And that would impact you being able to give more money to your deputies or hire an additional deputy or whatever. But on those same lines, I will mention the other plaque that I'm proud of is the one that you guys gave me back in 2018, my last year in the House Leadership Award. And this was to help for a bill that I carried that helped to get some more money for your deputies.
That was great too. That was, it was probably one of those feel-good moments for me, just in the sense it was nice to actually watch a bill cross the line that I felt I had a fingerprint on. And
you did.
There were multiple, and there's been multiple since, but it was really neat.
But there again, if the state legislature, the statutes had to be modified and changed in order to pretty much force the counties to pay the deputies more money, minimums.
Right.
And that's what we did. And of course, it's all worked out.
And
I mean, nobody's.
I appreciate your leadership so much, because you kind of introduced me and showed me how things worked. And I don't go up there maybe once a month or whatever. But I'll go up there and I'll start at the bottom floor, and this is like this truth in sentencing deal. I would literally just go on the bottom floor and work all the way up to the top, and any door that was open and they would talk to me, I would talk to them.
Yeah.
And so you meet lots of people and build lots of relationships, and it's just.
The other thing that I want to mention to the general public that they don't really know about, but when I took on that role as the director of the medical marijuana program for the state with that new legislation that passed, I've said publicly and probably on this show, I didn't vote for it, but I was handed this and said make it work, and it was a big task. But one of the first things I did was to put together a advisory committee of law enforcement people, because the one thing I knew we had to do was to make sure that law enforcement understood what we were doing. Yeah. We were enforcing what was now in the Missouri Constitution.
Right.
And there's no one that should do that more than a law enforcement officer.
Well, and I think it's longer. I'm not mistaken. Somebody said this, but I think it's like longer than the rest of the Constitution. Combined.
Yeah, it was 40-some pages or something, and it was passed by the public, so it had to be done, and so it was a tough deal. But I knew that I had to have the law enforcement folks in my corner, understanding that this is not something we're doing because we all voted to do it. We're doing it because it's part of the Constitution. And you and Sheriff Arnott and Sheriff Cole from Ozark and Sheriff Rader from Stone County, an old Webster County boy initially. His mom and dad were raised in the Raider community. Sheriff Lewis from Sheriff Parrish from up at Lewis County. Anyway, put together a team that we had some meetings, and you guys were very, very helpful in helping us to understand the role of law enforcement, and then we tried to help you all understand, okay, here's how the system's going to work, the rules and regs, as we were putting the rules and regs together. But it was really important to have that. There was a gentleman from the troopers group.
Can't remember his name.
I can't either. Mike. It was Mike something. But anyway, I just wanted to make people know that there was a lot of input in that program by a lot of people around the state, and you guys were very instrumental and helpful with that as we put it together. And then, of course, the recreational passed 4 years later, and that's a whole other animal. And I came home, and I don't know how that's going, how you're dealing with all that, but I guess you are somehow.
Oh, it's going fine. Going fine.
Yeah. What's on the horizon for Roye Cole?
One day at a time. I'd like to continue doing this job. I enjoy it. It's an absolute honor. It's hard. Some days you're just like, man. Some days it's overwhelming, but when you have good people, my staff, they make the difference. You've got Tiffany's been there 15 years, Adam's been there more than 15 years, and Tina's been there more than 15 years, and just Colton, and you have a good leadership team that helps you so much, and they know how to do their part of the job it makes my life a lot easier, and so I can wear the different caps and be at the different places and prioritize and do what I need to do. And it's just, I don't know, I enjoy it. I really feel like I make a good difference.
You
I
do.
feel like I'm always trying to help somebody. I'm always trying to fix something. I've learned how to navigate through the bureaucratic process on different things, and normally can get to the bottom of something quick. There's so many cases that don't go the way we want them, or we're not able to do something we're able to. But I think people would always tell you, we're not hard to get a hold of. We're going to return your call, and we're always going to try to make a difference to do to the best of our ability. And I hope people appreciate that. That's something we all want, is to feel appreciated, and I hope people appreciate it, because I promise I'm giving my all, and there's just not a time I'm not working.
Yeah, I think people do.
You can't go out and have dinner without being on your phone or whatever.
Well, it's evident in. Have you really had an opponent since your first term or two?
No, not.
I mean, that's pretty much a telltale right there. I mean, you would have had opponents had you not have the trust of the general public.
I'd like to continue doing it a while. And
you're in the middle of a term right now, so you got 2 more years on this term, and then
I'm 45. I have to be 55 before I could even collect retirement.
Sure.
As it sits right now, I'd like to try to get those 10 years in, but
that'd be 2 more terms after
whatever
this
the Lord
one.
wills is
Sure.
what we'll do.
Well, and full disclosure, I've tried to recruit Roye to run for state representative or state senator one of these days, and maybe that would be in your resume down the road. But I understand right now your job is to be sheriff, and that's what you like to do. But I do think we've got great quality people waiting in the wings for those other positions down the road. Be ready to take a pay cut, of course, but but even other statewide offices and on up the ladder. I mean, Mike Parson was a sheriff and he was governor, and there's all kinds of opportunities that we'll need good leadership for. But
I'd like to take care of my community right now.
I know you would
take care of my neighbors.
I've been working on my archives here. I've got lots of stuff that I've packed away and I'm digging out, and I'm setting up in a little museum down here, and just for fun, because I don't know what else to do with it. I don't want to throw it away, but I found something that it was given to me by Sam Walton when I worked for Walmart many years ago. Yeah, he handed these out at a meeting one time, and I when I saw this, I immediately thought, and then as we were going to plan this podcast today, I immediately thought of you, and I thought of Uncle Gene, Sheriff Fraker, and I've tried to make sure that I've tried to live my life as a business person or as someone in the community doing what we do. But the 3 basic beliefs that Sam Walton built Walmart on, and this was ingrained in the associates. This was something that he talked more about associate relations. That's why he called us associates than he did selling widgets. Respect for the individual, service to the customers, and strive for excellence. Those were the 3 basic beliefs that he founded and built the company upon. And then his rules for building a business, and again, you think about this, Roye, and you think about how you apply that, and I do myself. Commit to your business. Believe it more than anybody else. Share your profits with all associates. Treat them as partners. Motivate your people. Money and ownership aren't enough. Communicate everything you possibly can to your associates. That's something that many business owners and CEOs don't do. But Sam Walton did that. I mean, he shared all the numbers.
Open book management from him, or
Jack Stack, that's right. Appreciate everything your associates do for the business. Appreciate your people. Celebrate your successes.
It's probably one of the hardest parts of my job, is to be able to recognize everybody for how much they do. Because it's one of my favorite things to do, but also the hardest, because they are literally doing so much all the time, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You could never give them enough credit that they deserve.
Take them for granted.
It's not possible to show them the appreciation that they deserve.
Yep. Celebrate your successes. Find humor in your failures. Don't take yourself so seriously. Listen to everyone in your company. Figure out ways to get them talking. Exceed your customers' expectations. Give them what they want and a little more. Control your expenses better than your competition, and swim upstream. Go the other way. Ignore conventional wisdom. If everybody else is doing it one way, there's a good chance you can find your niche by going in exactly the opposite direction.
Right.
I just thought those are, man, we're losing that stuff. We're losing it with the younger
right.
generations. And I'm
Yeah.
not knocking the younger generation. They look at us, they look at me as an old boomer that's a fool that doesn't know anything.
Yeah.
And I don't when it comes to some of this stuff, electronics. But we did learn about some of these rules in the people business. We did learn that.
Yeah.
And we learned it at home. We learned it at work. We learned it in school even.
If you want to do what's right to the best of your ability, you're gonna have to go against the flow.
Yeah.
You know, you don't
That's
make
right.
a difference doing the same
That's
thing
right.
everybody else is doing.
That's right.
You gotta.
And it still comes back to those basic principles you learned as a kindergartner, you know.
Yeah. That's a fact.
It is, you
Yeah.
know. Things that
Yep.
our mothers taught us.
Treat people right to the best of your ability.
Yeah. Stay away from those that, if you have to think about whether you should go with someone, maybe you shouldn't. If you have to think about it,
Yeah.
you know, all those kind of little things. We got 6 minutes. Wrap this thing up.
What do you want to know? You
What's
got
going to
6
happen?
minutes.
What are you doing this week? What's on your agenda? Anything special?
Oh, geez, I was just barely surviving last week. Last week was literally just one meeting after another. You know, right now,
Like what's on your desk?
You know,
What's if I walked in and looked at your desk today? What would be in the notes?
You know, tomorrow we're going to do a little dodgeball tournament for Austin.
Yeah, talk about that.
And so, well, we're just, you know, selling some T-shirts, just trying to raise a little money for them.
It'll be here at our gym.
Yep. Yeah. So we'll do that for a little bit tomorrow. And
What time is that?
tomorrow's going to be church. I'm going to try to feed all my kids after church, create a little routine there, and then hustle up to the dodgeball game. And then
What time's the dodgeball game?
I don't know.
I'm assuming it's open to the
tomorrow.
general. It's open to the general public, right?
Yeah, but you're talking
Okay.
to the wrong guy.
All right.
I'll find
All right.
out tomorrow.
Okay.
I mean, I know that sounds terrible.
It's
I
on
live by a
Facebook.
calendar, but
It's
that
on
requires me
Facebook.
to look at it.
Do you know where they look on Facebook?
Yeah. No, it's tomorrow. If you give me just 1 second.
Yeah. Well, it's good for the
Jennifer
people. to
Ham
know.
and Stephen Ham.
Jennifer Ham. Go to her
Just the
Facebook
same.
site.
Yeah.
Okay. How's Austin doing?
Let me get the details for you.
All right.
I'll tell you. You know, good grief. Well, I thought I had it on here.
Well, you can find it.
I think it's at
They
1:30
can find it.
tomorrow. Oh, here we go.
You know what? I've got it on my
1:15 tomorrow.
1:15.
1:15.
So probably 1:30 for the general public.
So you can reach out to Jennifer Ham at 848-6289 or Brandy Terry at 630-9842.
There you go. Thank you.
But, you know, I think he's doing good. I think he's going to have to struggle with stuff for a while, but, you know, I think he's doing as well as he can given the circumstances. And really, I don't want to tell anybody anything other than
Will
that.
he come back to work?
Lord willing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he
Okay,
wants
good,
to.
good.
So I think
And
he wants to.
The other person did okay.
Wall with
Yeah.
Christian County.
Yeah.
I haven't got an update in the last week on him, so I don't, you know.
His wasn't
he was
as
improving.
serious. His
Well,
wasn't
no, I
as-
mean, it shattered his
his
leg.
Okay.
You know,
Yeah.
so.
Anything else you want to mention?
You know,
Words
I
of
don't
wisdom.
know.
How about words of wisdom?
Oh shoot, ask somebody else. I don't know. We're
How
just,
important's your faith in your job?
well, it's the center of it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the real mission.
Yeah.
So, and it's sad. I mean, you would, I think you would say this too. It's just you fail so much as a human, but you're literally never miss the mission. That you're trying to do your best and try to influence others in the right direction. And that's what I want to be. And I hope people appreciate that. And they'll never understand it if they don't know me. But if they do, I hope that I can. You can say, well, you know, that guy, he really screwed that up, and this guy can say, yeah, I did, but I'm going to try to fix it or make it better. But also, like, it is so important, you know, love your neighbor.
Yeah.
Really, I mean, I get the biggest thing that I find is that people have issues, but they just don't want to talk it out. They kind of want the issue to go. It kind of festers, and anxiety and fear keep people from just going and talking and working through issues. And I would encourage people that. That's probably one of the number one rules I have that's unique to our office is if you ever promise them in the office, you have to go talk to them. And that just solves so many problems because people's positions become clear, and you realize that maybe that evil intent that you had associated with them, that wasn't there at all. Yeah. Most of the time it was a miscommunication or a misunderstanding that can probably work out pretty quick. I would just say if you have a problem with somebody, go talk to them.
Yeah.
You know? So.
One thing I've admired about you as sheriff is you have absolutely not been political at all. You've always, didn't matter what letter they had behind their name when it came to a party.
I don't.
And other than maybe you wanting to see like the new jail, you wanted that proposal to pass. Certainly, I did too. And
Not political by issues,
but it wasn't political.
You know,
But it
I
wasn't
stay out of
political. It
people's
wasn't
races.
political. That wasn't a political issue.
Yes, it was a principled issue
Yeah.
that we needed to address.
Right.
And
But my point is that's probably something that's given you a lot more stature as a sheriff because you haven't been like that. You're not out here in front of the microphone and social media every day giving your opinion about this or that. Or
I try to keep the lowest profile possible.
But it's important, and that's, again, part of the problem we're dealing with in our society. Everybody is too quick to let everybody else know their opinion to the whole world.
Everybody has an answer to a problem they don't even understand.
They don't even know what the problem is.
They don't even understand what the problem or the question is.
That's
but
right.
They have an answer.
Right.
And I try not to be that way.
Right.
I recognize there's a world of stuff I don't know and that I probably get wrong. So I try to be quiet and address issues as needed to the best of my ability once I understand the problem.
Yeah.
So,
Well, Sheriff, I appreciate you coming in. I got a little gift for you.
I have one for you too.
I got you a Marshfield Blue Jay cap.
There you go.
Marshfield Blue Jay. This is kind of an old school. And I thought the black would be fitting for your uniform.
Yeah, matches my beard too.
You know, even though you're from Rogersville, we always have considered you one of us on this side of the county as well, and you are, and that's because of how you've always taken care of us.
Gosh, there is a story I want to tell now, but
yeah, tell it. We got time.
Well, gee whiz,
no, come on.
Jeff, no. But if Jeff Stone watches this, he knows He knows I'm thinking about him.
Yeah.
It was funny though, just things you don't understand until you ever talk or whatever. But when I was a kid, when I'd come up here, we'd play games, and it never went well for us. Right? It never went well. We were either just getting our tails beat, or we were getting in some fight or something. Just always some kind of trouble. And then, of course, when I started working in the courthouse, ironically, it was the same year that nobody shaved their beards.
Yeah, 05.
So I go from working in Springfield and going to school in Springfield to working out here under Judge Sims as a juvenile officer.
Yeah.
It took me a little while to figure out every single man in the courthouse had a beard. And I'm like, what kind of country did I come to? Like, I was raised in Western
Thought we were
County,
Mennonites or
but
something.
I didn't know anything about the Brothers with the Brush, that year. And then on July 5th, everybody came in, they were clean shaved. I was like, what in the world, And I was like, oh, they had a beard growing contest. I didn't even know that was a thing, David Young has like this top hat and these overalls.
Yeah.
Democrat county collector.
Yeah.
Like, what in the world have I come to?
Well, I've told this story. Go ahead.
20 years later.
Yeah.
Well, short version is Jeff thought he didn't know me, and he thought I'm out to get him to try to arrest him for something that happened in high school.
Oh,
Which
yeah.
is totally nonsense. So absolutely never even crossed my mind. And so I'm doing a lot of times I help host Stacy when Rogersville and Marshfield play each other in football.
Yeah.
And so I mentioned Jeff and what a great quarterback he was and stuff like that. And he called me up the next day. He said, I thought you hated me, Bo. I was like, why would I hate you? And he told me why he thought that I hated him. I was like, no, not at all. He's like, I've avoided you for 20 years. I was like, dude.
Oh, gosh, that's
like,
funny. Yeah.
Maybe no, literally never crossed my mind one time. But that's the kind of pressure is your title becomes so much bigger than who you are.
Right.
And people just associate feelings with you that aren't in you.
Right.
And you just have to deal with stuff like that. You never get to it unless you're just willing to talk it out.
Right.
So
Same way as a state rep. Everybody thinks that
I'd go to the school all the time,
Mm-hmm.
and he would kind of avoid me because he was working there and coaching, and it was great. It was hilarious.
I run into the same thing. People think that I believe everything exactly like Donald Trump does. Well, I don't. I don't.
Sure.
Even though I'm a Republican, and I think we've taken that out of our society. Though you're either this or you're that. There's nothing in between anymore, and it's wrong because it's just not true.
No.
On the beard issue, I've told this one. They're getting tired of hearing it, but I got to mention it again. So this year we got the Brothers of the Bush. So I was convinced to sign up for it. So I've been letting this go down here, and it's terrible. I can't even grow beard down here. I did okay here. In 05, you know,
did better.
Well, in 05, no, I didn't do better. It was actually dark colored then. It was brown.
Oh yeah, okay.
But there was only one guy that had a worse beard than me in 05, Nicholas Inman, and he was 19 years old. Well, he's growing one this year, and he's way better than mine. So now I'll be the worst.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of proud of that at 66, I guess. Well, thank you, Roy. Thanks again.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you all for joining in. We're going to try to gear up a little bit and have a few more of these. We took a little winter break, as you all know, but I think it's important to communicate what's going on in the community and with important people like Sheriff Cole and the good things that people are doing. We're not going to dwell on negatives, but we're going to dwell on the good things that people do and showcase our community, because that's what this is about for history. So our children and grandchildren can go, yeah, he was a good guy, and he was instrumental in helping do this or that.
Before you.
That's right. That's right. It's important. So anyway, we'll see you later, and thanks for joining us.
Thank you, guys.
Yep.
Did you get it?
I think I did. Usually I don't have to do this, but I guess I will what he said. Are you still on the screen there?
Yeah. Where's your son?
Yeah,
You're just going to stay live.
He left me.